Hello dear listeners, TW here. Nate and I joined forces once again to talk about Christopher Nolan's filmography. We've tried to rush in, have a look at the Odyssey and have a chat about his entire filmography. A monster of a conversation split over two parts and edited down as best we can. Part 2 will be out as soon as possible. Spoilers ahead, enjoy. Hello Nate, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
And here we are again in the bunker.
We're in the bunker. We're in the war room.
Yeah, which will make no sense to people who haven't listened to our feature-length commentaries, which I can't imagine why.
I can't imagine why you wouldn't do that.
Because that's clearly a thing you should do.
Yeah.
So we were in here last time for that. So yeah, we if you go onto Bandcamp and search Flicks Through Time, we have two commentaries up and running now. Superman 3 and Spiderman 3. With Spiderman 3 we recorded here in a trend of third installments that aren't very good.
Yeah.
That's a trend we might continue with some future commentaries.
And I think with most movies you'd say like people talking over the top of the movie, that's a detriment, like that detracts from the movie.
But when it's us.
When it's us, but also when it's those movies. It's
I've listened to commentaries of people who are basically gushing over the film and they're boring.
Yeah.
I've listened to commentaries where they have a lot of historical relevance. They can be interesting.
Yeah.
But let's tear apart these not so good films. Tends to be very entertaining.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. I enjoyed making them, and I've enjoyed listening to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been at least two people that have listened to them.
Yeah.
Although the idea that we talk about third installments aren't very good has nothing to do with today, because Christopher Nolan has never made a third installment of a franchise that isn't very good.
That's certainly a...
Okay, I'm putting a tally mark up for every time I can trigger you by talking about Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. Well, that's one. That's one. Yeah, okay. No, he has certainly made the one-third installment.
Yeah, he made... I think we can all agree Dark Knight Rises is the best Batman film. Two tally marks?
Yeah.
See, even though you know I'm trying to get a rise out of you, it's still annoying you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Even though I know it's deliberate, and you might not even believe it. I'm still like, yeah, but...
all of the reasons.
Yeah, you still said it. You still said it out loud.
Yeah, I did. So just as I guess parameters for today, we're going to talk about his whole filmography. So this should only take about 12 hours.
Yeah, he's made some movies.
He's made a few movies.
And they're all, when I say all, they're absolutely not. So that was a lie. Many of them, the plurality of them maybe, are worth discussing because he is an interesting filmmaker.
He is, but we'll... this is only a one-episode expedition. We will talk about all of them, but we'll only focus on a few.
And there are some that are more important than others.
Absolutely. And this sub-series, welcome to the sub-series of Director's Episodes, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Exclusive club, hey.
Yeah, I mean, you're in every other sub-series, so you might as well be in this one. And, we should mention we do have some company in case they turn up on mic. Who's here with us, Nate?
Okay, so these are returning guests and returning nuisances. These are my two sausage dogs, Ellie and Jarvis. Jarvis is currently on my lap, but he's a big boy, so that's not going to stay for... that's not going to be permanent. And Ellie is currently begging to be
picked up
by Marcus.
Yeah, so you...
if you hear their nails on the floor, that's what that is. We haven't dropped a sack of marbles or anything like that. It's little dogs running around being silly.
Yeah, and they're very good at critiquing third installments of films as well.
Yeah, they've seen it all.
They weren't keen on Spider-Man 3 either.
No.
So we'll be talking about all of Nolan's films. But yeah, every other episode I've done, this will be the third, the guest, and we would say, we'll just talk about these three films, and it would always expand to more. So this is probably a good time that we say from the beginning. Yeah, it would be a very anemic discussion if you said, let's just pick
boil
three.
Nolan down to three films that are important because he's across genres.
He is.
And he's had an interesting career.
Yeah, exactly. And you could definitely point to three and say, you could probably categorize his films into three categories and choose one from each, but you would still be missing
You'd be missing large parts, and it would be like big, deliberate, glaring omissions. So if you if you said, okay, we're going to talk about him as a historical filmmaker and just talk about like Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and Odyssey, that is ignoring his science fiction work. If we're just talking about his science fiction work, that's ignoring his historical stuff and his like blockbuster stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The Batman movies. So it's like he's hard to pin down like that.
Yeah.
Although I think it's interesting. Like he's going through movements. These things he doesn't jump between genres. He's like evolving from one genre to another.
He is, and also there's repeated themes. And what's interesting is one thing I definitely want to talk about is the idea that there's some themes that he did well earlier, and then they kind of fell apart later. Yeah. And you'd normally think you would improve on these things.
I'm interested to hear what those...
Because
I think there are definitely things that he... there are stories that he loves telling, or stories that he's fascinated with, or stories that are just part of his personality and he can't leave them behind. And there are things that he seems to care about a lot more when he was younger and he's grown out of.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some things he's definitely improved along the way too, I should say.
For sure.
But, all right, so I guess we'll just dive in, shall we?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, we... what are we starting with?
Right. 1998 Following. This will be a brief one because only one of us has seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Following.
Currently on Mubi in Australia, and I saw it a couple of months ago, and I would say it was clearly the first film from someone who would go on to greater things.
Yeah.
And it's, if you're interested in checking out his sort of back catalogue, so to speak, I would definitely encourage it.
Yeah.
I think it's quite good.
Yeah.
But it's not something you need to stress about seeing. It's just a nice little sort of
I've heard
thriller
that,
mystery
it's a pretty
thing.
competent debut.
Yeah.
Directorial debut. Which that's great.
1998, shot in black and white, so it's a little bit odd like that. But it's...
people were doing that in the 90s though. Like,
oh, sure.
Kevin Smith did that.
Yeah.
And it was seen as a reasonable stylistic choice, not a limitation
Correct.
of the 90s.
Yeah, it doesn't hamper it here. It just helps it make it feel a little bit out of time, as in not from a particular time. Yeah. So cool. I don't think we need to explore it.
Sounds good.
It's good. Next one, Memento.
I think Memento's a pretty important movie.
Yeah, it's his first, dare we say, mainstream film. It's not strictly speaking mainstream, but it broke through into the mainstream.
Yeah, and it, like, for a sophomore effort, he's able to get Guy Pearce, who by this time was an Academy Award nominee at the very least for LA Confidential.
Yep, he was roughly around his peak at this time, I would say, for popularity.
Yeah, I think that's true. Got Carrie-Anne Moss and Joey Pants from The Matrix, Joe Pantoliano.
Yeah, so keeping in mind that The Matrix had just come out.
Yeah.
So that was a good get. So people at the time would have gone, yep, know these people.
These people are, I think Memento is a very, very good movie. It's an incredible script. It's a good structure. I think it is... I've got a theory. Mm-hmm. Time is Christopher Nolan's, like, it's his pet passion. It's time and manipulation of time and exploration of time.
Yeah.
And I think Memento, from like the second movie in his career, is both, it's a demonstration of maybe his greatest strength and also what I think is possibly his Achilles heel.
Yeah. Well,
which is that, like, his greatest strength is that he is really good at plot, not story, plot. He's good at revealing things when they need to be revealed, not necessarily when it's logical to reveal them in chronological order. What ends up being the kind of the too heavier load to carry is that he then, after Memento, he feels that he needs to have in-universe justification for time manipulation in every damn movie.
Okay, so I think we can say that the thing I was alluding to before is going to line up with what you were saying.
Oh, yeah?
So, basically I would say broad brushstrokes, I agree with you there. So the idea of time manipulation for the sake of delivering plot in a way that disorients the viewer.
Yeah,
but with the goal,
details, deliberately for purpose, for effect,
for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
and I would argue that Memento is probably his most ambitious attempt at that is successful. So I'm very specific with my language there.
I agree with you completely. I know
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Right.
I know what you're alluding to.
Yes.
I agree completely. It is ambitious and it achieves it successfully. The in-universe justification for this is the word anachronistic or the out-of-sequence plot deliverance is that the main character has no capacity to
form
develop
new
memories, and so he is always functioning using his short-term memory.
Yeah, every 5 minutes it's functionally a reset.
Yeah, and the movie executes on that promise very, very well. There's none of the issues that sabotage Nolan's other attempts to do this are present in Memento.
Yeah.
So it is like it's a complete success from that point of view. He demonstrates that he can present stories out of sequence and achieve a great deal.
Yeah. And that trilogy, I would argue. I mean, Inception is doing it with perception of reality, not so much time, but the time trilogy, I call it The Prestige and Tenet. They're the three that really mess with structure.
I would include Inception in that as well because of the way that third act, the climax, is delivered over different spans of time.
Okay, maybe I just forgot that detail.
Yeah, he's doing the exact same thing he does in Dunkirk. So Dunkirk does it as well. Yeah, it is baked into all. Like Odyssey does it as well.
Well, I guess let me reframe that then. When okay, I can add Inception to that based on what you were just saying. So the quadrilogy of films where it's at the core of everything, it's driving everything. Whereas as we get to Dunkirk and Odyssey, where it's there, but it's not the point of why we're here.
I think and I think Dunkirk is the pivot point. Yes. Dunkirk is when he realizes, I can just do this. Yeah. I don't need to have an in-universe justification for why time is different. I can just do it.
Yeah, and which is why if you look at the, because Inception has other things going on, I'll park that for a second. But if we say, okay, if you were just to briefly look at that trilogy, Memento, Prestige, and Tenet. Yeah. So I would say that Memento is not the most ambitious.
No, it's not the most ambitious.
Yeah,
but I don't even know what's the time manipulation in Prestige. I've forgotten. Maybe.
Well, we can get to that in a moment in detail. But in short, telling things out of sequence in Prestige is nowhere near as striking, and that structure is not as profound.
No, because the narrative structure through the reading of the diaries, is that
basically?
Okay, I'm with you now. I agree with you.
Plus a couple of other things. There's the bookended, but basically, Memento and Tenet are far more ambitious, and as far as messing with structure, Prestige is less ambitious but does it well. Tenet is more ambitious but doesn't do it as well, and Memento's right in the middle where it's more ambitious than Prestige. Yeah, but but the fact that it works is the point.
It's trying to do more in terms of plot versus story.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. Prestige is relatively straightforward from that point of view.
It is just like your regular moviegoer is not going to be disoriented by the revealing of stuff in Prestige.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas they may be in Memento, but the ending helps it sew it together.
Absolutely.
Whereas Tenet, that moment never comes.
Correct. So I look forward to dissecting that.
All right. So that's Memento. I think we both. Yeah. Memento is a success.
We can happily move on from there. Yeah. Although I would like to say this because I think this might be a good little a way of framing the rest of the conversation. Yeah. This is how I feel about Memento. I watched it. I liked it. I appreciate it a great deal. Yeah. But I don't particularly feel like rewatching it. And my question would be, because this conversation is a little bit like, based on what you've said, both on and off, Mike, because you've said more than a few times.
I've shared my opinions about Nolan to anybody who will listen.
And those who won't. Yeah. Nolan's work feels a little bit like there's a lot of people who are going back through his filmography and really picking it apart and leaning on the side of, hey, he wasn't as good as we remember him.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that probably started with Tenet. And as in, not that people weren't analysing his films before then, but that's when I think the general public consciousness started to look back and go, hang on a minute, were these things actually quite so good?
I agree with that completely. Like it's maybe not a good analogy to draw because not many people are going to get it. When I was in the 2010s, maybe late 2000s, early 2010s, I really loved this band called The National. Their music seemed very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now, out of that age and having listened to other music, my feeling about them, looking back, is that they're not important. They just felt they were.
Yeah.
They just had the. They just presented themselves as significant. And I think that is the issue with Inception and Tenet at the very least.
Yeah.
Is that those movies were never good. They just seemed significant at the time.
And I think this is the core of what's going to drive the rest of the conversation, because my question would be, so first of all, it definitely sounds like between the two of us, you're more on the negative side, because I would suggest that I didn't have strong opinions about Nolan, and I was a little worried that I'd be coming in here being a little bit white bread with not much to say. And as I thought about it over the couple months leading up, and then watching the Odyssey, I think I'm definitely going to be falling on the positive. And I think I've got some, even with these structural issues that I'm aware of, I think I'm going to be a bit of a defender here.
I don't think that's true either, because my take on Nolan is that, unlike other directors, so if you were comparing Nolan to Tarantino, who I think is a good comparison, Tarantino's movies are all different. They're all different, and people's favorite Tarantino movie is not necessarily his most recent.
It's a reflection on them and their experiences.
Whereas Nolan is just getting better. His progress as a director is linear. Every movie is better than the one that came before it, at the very least.
Except for Tenet.
That's not universally true, but as a trend, he is getting better.
I hear what you're saying.
With the exception of Tenet, his three most recent movies are Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and The Odyssey, and those three movies are amazing.
No doubt about it.
He's found a directorial voice with Dunkirk that he's been able to... Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and The Odyssey are all very similar movies. They look very similar. They feel very similar. They feel like they're from the same director.
Yeah.
They feel disconnected to his other work.
Yes, they do.
And that director is maybe the best director in the world right now.
Yeah, okay. So, but when going back and picking through his works, that comment I had about Memento, I wonder, is this symptomatic of this somewhat anti-Nolan vibe that's been kicking around, that's been bubbling to the surface, where even as a fan, I look back at a lot of his films and go, that's a good film. I remember liking that, and I think in some cases, I think they'd even hold up like Memento, but I still just don't feel like revisiting them. And I wonder if that's symptomatic of his filmography. I wonder if it's
like playing the old Grand Theft Auto games when you play the new ones, where you're at the time this was great, but I didn't realise how good it could be.
Which comes back to spectacle, which I think that's another thread. Gee, there's so many threads to pull on here. But the idea that he is a director of spectacle, not from these first couple films, but his movies are about an event. You go there, it's this big thing, and people walk out going, wow. And even Dark Knight Rises had a generally favourable review.
It did, yeah.
Not as much as the others, but it feels like upon further scrutiny, it's when they start to tumble, with the exception, as you say, of those 3 out of his last 4 films, which I think probably will hold up on rewatch.
I think so too. And I think that it's because they're different. They're very different movies. Structurally different, different in terms of aim and goal. Tenet, backwards, he is a set-piece filmmaker. Where he's got these big sequences that he wants to hit, and the story is kind of I don't want to get into that can of worms just yet, but he is a set piece filmmaker.
Yes, I got something to say about that.
Whereas Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and Odyssey are more evenly paced films. They're not moving between, even the Odyssey, which is kind of, it's a little bit episodic, is not moving from set piece to set piece. It's a consistent movie throughout. So yeah, go on.
Just going back to the question as we move on to the next films, is the idea that we generally like his and have positive experiences, but we're reevaluating his films perhaps more negatively now. Is that, well, I guess, what is that indicative of? And maybe we can unpick the answer as we go.
Yeah, I don't know.
As you say, it might just be a case of he got better and therefore...
I mean, that's my thesis at this point.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we're picking him apart unfairly. So let's see how we go.
Yeah, I think within that discussion, there are earlier movies of his that people still hold in very high regard, which we'll get to as we talk about them. And there are other movies in that earlier era where I'm glad to see audience opinion shift on.
Right.
Because it's a drum I've been beating since Inception was released.
Right. Okay. So you're one of the early, let's pick these apart.
Well, that movie in particular.
Well, it invites it, to be fair.
Yeah. Anyway.
2002 Insomnia, I haven't seen it. That's my grand statement.
I've seen it. It's fine. It's good. It's a very competent... Sorry, that's Jarvie chewing on his paw. It's not me
chewing on his paw or yours.
Yeah. No, I don't have a breathing issue. It's fine. It's like a interesting, good police procedural mystery crime thing. Al Pacino it's not a standout performance from Al Pacino. He's good in it, doing what he does. Robin Williams is also good in it. It was kind of like an interesting thing happening at the time when Robin Williams was doing serious work. But if you want a Robin Williams serious work movie, it's not the one you reach for. 1 Hour Photo is the one to reach for. Insomnia is just good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Next one. Yeah. So Batman Begins, we won't... one of our other sub-series where we talk about franchises like Superman, Spiderman, we will do a deep dive into the Batman films. The Batman. Eventually.
Yeah.
So I guess... just in the context of Nolan and his filmography, this is obviously a very important one because this is him becoming...
This is a big... it's a promotion. He's been given more money. He's been given more profile.
And not only that, it's... if we were to take this as his first blockbuster, maybe, it's the first one that he both writes and directs. So he wrote and directed his early ones. Yeah. So he's been given the ability to write and direct.
I think in the context of discussing Christopher Nolan, it is important to track who is writing his movies because that makes a big difference.
So he's got some creative control here. Warner Brothers at this point is not concerned with expanded universes. We can just have a movie.
They're just trying to get a Batman movie back on the screen because Batman as a property has been kicking around post Batman and Robin,
which was 98, I'm pretty sure. So that's 7 years.
97.
Oh, could be.
Sorry, in front of all our friends.
I
think it's 97, but it's a box office bomb, kills the franchise. It's critical and commercial failure. Yeah. And as I've mentioned on other podcasts, the Batman intellectual property is then kicked around between directors for a long time before Nolan convinces Warner Brothers that he's got a clear vision that will work.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that whilst Batman and Robin didn't do well financially, it wasn't by any means the worst bomb around. It's just that it was well short of projections. Yeah. So it wasn't like some recent films where you spend $200 million and get $100 million back.
No.
But it was a massive disappointment. Yeah. And more importantly, it upset people and people didn't know what to do with the property. So superheroes moving forward, taking on that dark and gritty edge, it all comes from this film and by extension the series.
I think it's Batman Begins is kind of the proof of concept of grounded superheroes. The Dark Knight is where the big...
that's because the Batman Begins was not a mega hit. It was successful.
And it had positive word of mouth. It was like people who saw it really liked it.
Yes, and it gained momentum because it was 3 years before The Dark Knight. This is back when we used to take time between sequels, which we're finally back to with the current Reeve Batman films. And so, but The Dark Knight is where all of that is cemented. Yeah. And him, I think, as a blockbuster filmmaker, that's where it's all laid in.
Yeah, there's a lot that helps to make The Dark Knight the success that it is.
Yeah.
It's not just that it's the sequel to a movie that had only gained appreciation in the intervening years.
Warner Brothers were patient and said, no worries.
There was a very effective marketing campaign around Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yep.
But we've skipped a movie.
Correct. The Prestige coming out. It stars Batman, Wolverine, and Alfred.
And Black Widow. And,
oh, yeah, of course.
And
Rebecca Hall as
Rebecca
Wolverine's wife.
Rebecca Hall is the name, sorry.
What is she? I don't know who she is.
She's
a superhero.
She's in Iron Man 3.
She's in Iron Man 3. Oh, well, there you go. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's basically part of the expanded universe of both Marvel and Warner Brothers. Yeah, so I was gifted this film recently by someone that looks and sounds a lot like you.
He sounds like a delight.
So, yes. Top chap.
Yeah, I'm a good guy. What can I say? I'm very generous.
Yeah.
With my time and my prestige.
And so I had only vaguely heard of The Prestige. And this feels like it's been a little bit lost in his bigger films that came later. But watching it, we'll get to this later. This might be how I sum up at the end rather than doing the strike rate thing. We could do the strike rate thing. But I would categorize Nolan films into 3 categories.
Yeah.
1, that's great. I want it in my collection and I want to rewatch it.
Yeah.
2, that's great. Glad I saw it. Probably don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
And 3, I'm going to actively not want to rewatch that. So there's
I can agree with that.
So my question would be where Prestige falls, and I watched it only quite recently. The more I think about it, the more it is. I mean, it's in my collection regardless.
Yeah.
So would I want it if it weren't? And the more I think about it, the more I'm saying the answer yes. So in other words, this is probably in the upper echelons of his films. Yeah. But not initially.
Yeah.
It took me a little while. It's like the first hour I'm going, and the last, this is actually, I'm going to tell you how it went as I watched it chronologically, and this will save time when we get to Dunkirk because it was exactly the same experience.
Yeah.
The first hour I'm going, I can see why people like this. I can see why this is good.
Yeah.
And then there's about half an hour.
This is pleasant?
This is, and then there's about half an hour I'm going, I'm surprised it hasn't caught me by now.
Yeah.
And then the last, say, 20 to 30 minutes of both of these films, and then the last 20 to 30 minutes, I just went, okay, I'm all in. This is...
Yeah, and I think I had the same experience with the Odyssey, where it's like towards the end you're like, this movie's actually about something. This is not just a sequence of events. There's a theme through this that I have not picked up on or has not been presented, obviously. Yeah. And I get this now. I get what this is doing.
Yeah, and the Prestige, I think, does that beautifully, where there are several things that it's saying. And it's one of the... one day, maybe there's an episode out there of, let's talk about movies that are about making movies, because the Prestige is very obviously...
Prestige is... Inception's another.
Yes. But it's... you got 2 magicians, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. Yeah. And they are trying to create a show.
They're bitter rivals.
Yes, and they're trying to one-up each other.
Christian Bale, sorry, I'm hijacking. Christian Bale has this trick, the teleported man, where he is able to appear across stage instantly. Mm-hmm. And because he and Hugh Jackman's character are rivals, Hugh Jackman is like desperate, obsessed with finding out how he does this trick so he can replicate it.
And they do start off as colleagues, you should mention, and there's a significant falling out. Yeah. And what I love about this movie is, before we get into the themes and why it's important, I think we'll save the very big spoilers, because Prestige, there's a good chance people haven't seen it. It's known, but it's not.
It's building in regard.
Yes. So minor spoilers ahead, but we will save the big ones, I think. Yeah. We can allude to them only. What I loved about it is the fact that the opening scene is, in appearance, you've got Christian Bale murdering Hugh Jackman, and then the movie then tells us how we lead up to that point.
How we got there.
Yeah, and so, and then we see the incident where they are no longer working together, and Christian Bale does this horrible thing. So it starts off with Hugh Jackman's the hero, Christian Bale's the villain. Yeah. And then it very quickly, I'm thinking even in the next scene, Christian Bale is then shown falling in love, and there's a child and all this sort of stuff. So then when Hugh Jackman starts to go after him,
they've humanized the villain. He goes from the 10 out of 10 Skeletor down to a realistic.
Yeah.
And then Hugh Jackman gets more and more embittered, and at some point they end up on that scale or that spectrum of villain and hero.
Yeah.
They end up pretty much at the same
point.
They
are both just torturing each other.
Yes.
And it builds that very gradually and very sympathetic. Like, both male leads are very well developed, which is a miracle.
Yeah. This film could have failed.
How much it needs to obscure.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of twists in this movie, and it's like, maybe up until the Christopher Nolan reinvention, this is maybe his best script.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Rewards rewatching.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to rewatching it because then now that I know it all, I can just watch it play out. Because what I love about it is the idea that if we take that, you create a because people often say that movies are all about smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
So the allusion to magicians creating illusions and that being related to filmmaking is not new. He didn't invent that concept, obviously. But what I love about it is there's a moment where he functionally, Hugh Jackman is able to create functionally real magic in the sense that technology that's so far advanced, it's functionally magic.
Yeah.
And so this is no longer an illusion. This is real.
Yeah.
And he shows it to somebody who and can realize, oh, this is next level. And he actually says to him, you need to make it, I'm going to paraphrase here, but you basically need to make it a little bit flawed so to give people doubt.
Yeah, because if people believe it's real, they'll panic.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about, so in other words, you've got to have this brilliant thing and you need to sort of scratch it a little bit to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Nolan does with the film, where he's got this really great twist at the end. So what he does is pepper things throughout.
Yeah, the revelation for both twists, how both magicians are able to do that trick, is like revealed throughout the movie by the way other magicians are doing similar tricks.
Yeah, and it's all there. All of the evidence is
Everything is there. And it's very deliberate and so confident.
Yeah. And here's the favourite part for me is when there's a couple of things where I was able... you could sort of say there's three things to like, what was the first scene about?
Yep.
Bale apparently killing Jackman, and then a couple of others that follow. And I was able to figure one out pretty early on.
Yep.
And then there's another one I was able to figure out just a few minutes further on. So I think, I figured this movie out.
Yeah.
So then when the final bang hits and I go, what?
Yeah.
So it's able to leave a trail for me throughout. Much like the illusion can't be perfect. It needs to. So there's clues. The audience feels smart for figuring this stuff out.
Yeah.
But then still puts a final twist. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's probably the plot structure that Nolan is best at doing. I don't know whether there is an actual word for it, so I just call it a butterfly plot, where you've got two parallel story tracks. You've got flashback and what's currently happening at the same time, and then those two converge at about the climax. And like Project Hail Mary did it earlier this year. It's very good because it allows you to have two justifications for what's about to happen. It's the character telling you how they got there and what they're going to do next. Yeah,
and the fact that they're playing a trick on the audience, but kind of the characters are doing it to each other throughout the film as well.
Yeah, and doing it to themselves as well, because the theme of Prestige is like it's sacrifice. Yeah, and how much obsession costs people.
What will you sacrifice to make this movie? I mean, illusion.
Yeah,
and Nolan has said directly that the scene in Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey's character sees the videos and laments the loss of years with his child, that is him as a filmmaker saying, these are the years I've lost.
And that is something that that is a recent theme that Nolan is hyper fixated on, is like
lost time with child. I wonder if that came up in a recent movie.
Yeah, and even in Oppenheimer, like, am I proud of what I've done?
This thing that I've created.
Yeah, this thing that I've made, like, am I actually proud of it? Or is it just like it's something that I regret?
Yeah. Was it worth it? And that's what the great monologue by Jackman at the very end. So this doesn't spoil anything, but this what I love about it is they're so obsessed with each other. They kind of burn everything to the ground just to one-up each other.
Yeah.
And then in the end, Jackman's saying, look around, and Bale's just, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I just came here to do this thing. And he says something, Jackman realizes something, and he goes, oh, you don't even know why we were doing this. Bale's is so obsessed with doing it, he doesn't care. And Jackman is saying, no, we do this to see that smile on their faces. Yes. So his motivations are noble.
Yeah.
Execution, not so much.
Yeah.
But yes, we are here, we sacrifice everything, and Jackman gave up more than most in that film.
Yeah.
But it's for the audience.
Whereas, Christian Bale's...
Yeah, I just need to be the best.
Yeah, it's about the craft.
Yeah. I love the level of detail to what do you call it, the breadcrumbs for the clues.
Yeah.
Because there were times where I'm going, is that and it just sort of flutters out of my mind. So when all these reveals start to happen, I'm going, you clever son of a...
And I think it's worth pointing out at this stage. So that is a very intelligent, ambitious story. It's an adaptation.
Yes.
It's an adaptation of a novel by...
Relatively recent, wasn't it?
Yeah. At that time, it had only been like a few years old.
Yeah.
So don't give Christopher Nolan credit for... Like, it's his movie, and he edited it, and he plotted it out and all that sort of stuff. But we're not giving him credit at this point for plotting an intricate movie like that. He'd done it with Memento, but he can't claim prestige as his ground-up creation. It's not... Yeah,
and...
We're getting to those where he comes up with an idea for a story and develops it, and that's a different thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll just mention, and to anyone who hasn't seen The Prestige, this will sound like a very strange non sequitur. There was, back in my gaming days when I was a bit of a gamer, there was a game called Soma.
Oh, yeah?
And it had a science fiction idea of you can copy your consciousness, and as soon as that happens, you cut as the player, first person perspective, and suddenly your consciousness is in the future, and shortly you realise you're just in a robot body, and you realise humanity is basically being wiped out. Cool. And it's got this idea, if you're a copy, then what's the original, what's not, and later on in the game, you then copy yourself again, and your perspective shifts to the new one, but you can still hear the old one. And so which one is you? And so the idea of what is reality and all the rest of it. Anyway, if you haven't seen The Prestige, you'll have no idea why I brought that up.
Very little, but if you have seen The Prestige, you get it.
Yes, that is a really interesting idea, which is not the point of that movie.
Yeah,
but it's...
How long can you keep hurting yourself before you feel it?
Yeah,
you're the one who rather than the person hurting, you're the person hurt.
Yes, probably just leave it at that without spoiling. So next came The Dark Knight. Thumbs up.
Yeah,
great
big
film.
deal. Made $1 billion, so this is like an enormous success.
And this is back when not every movie made $1 billion. This was massive.
Yeah, you might get one a year that made $1 billion. So it was an enormous financial success, enormous critical success.
It was one of those universally liked films, and as dark as this sounds, the death of Heath Ledger probably helped the film.
There was
morbid,
of like the Brandon Lee Crowe effect, where there was a lot of like idiot online mythologizing about like, oh, Heath Ledger got sent crazy by the role of the Joker.
Yeah,
which is bananas.
The timing was such that, I mean, I remember people asking me, I'd seen the film, and they said, is it really that good? Are they talking up just because he died? And I was going, no, it's really that good. It is.
Yeah, it's very, very good. There's in retrospect, there's parts of it that everybody is like, oh, that's a bit strange, whatever. But like for a comic book movie, I don't know if there's any that are. They're probably like Black Panther is maybe as important and as ambitious.
Yeah, true. But for very different reasons.
For very different reasons.
I mean, I would rather rewatch The Dark Knight. I think it's a better made film.
And it's. Yeah, I don't know whether we've had a better villain performance in a comic book movie post-Ledger.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with this is what they call the Seinfeld effect, where after you've seen 40 people take at least parts of it, you go back to watch the original and go, what's the big deal?
Oh, yeah, for like with The Matrix, for a decade afterwards, we had bullet time For a decade after The Dark Knight, we had, the bad guy got caught on purpose.
Yeah.
It's all part of his plan. He's the one who's really in control here.
And I wonder if that might come up when we talk about Batman movies and how that shouldn't be repeated, especially when you're doing a new damn Batman movie. Sorry, that's a divergence.
Yeah.
But yes, that's probably the biggest problem with the film. Is it was kind of too successful in its impact.
Yeah, victim of its own success.
That's
maybe.
a better way to say it.
Yeah, it's still very, very good. Easily the best of those three movies.
Yeah,
if only because it doesn't recycle. It's not about the what's the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul and bringing Gotham to its knees because it's corrupt or whatever.
I mean, without delving into The Dark Knight Rises, but yes, jokes aside, The Dark Knight is very clearly the standout of that trilogy. No one's going to argue that point.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to annoy someone.
Yeah, just being a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Inception. I'm sure you've got nothing to say about this one. Do you want me to I'll just go for a walk. I'll come back.
You leave me. You leave me.
Spittle off the microphone.
Leave me in the listeners alone. We got to talk for a sec.
The floor is yours.
I remember I was living in Brisbane at the time, and managing a restaurant, and I went to see Inception on my lunch break. And then got back to the restaurant. Still had a bit of time left. So I was like, I'll call Mum and Dad up and see how they're going. And Mum was like, how was Inception? I was like, Mum, that's the best movie I've ever seen. It is so inventive with plot. It is so inventive with like obfuscation of detail, all this sort of stuff. The way that time and the passage of time is manipulated towards the climax, how like different things are happening at a different pace. I've never seen done before in a movie. It's amazing.
That's probably the biggest positive. Hey, like, people hadn't really seen that, but sort of. But
I was like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't believe I got to see this movie.
That feels like the general consensus at the time.
And the second time I watched it, I was like, man, this movie never stops explaining itself.
Okay.
And so it went from a 10 out of 10 in my eyes to maybe a 5 out of 10.
Oh, right.
And then just because like it never stops explaining itself. There's characters in that movie who, like, once you see what they're doing, it's all they do. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt just delivers exposition in that movie, and he is doing it all the way to the end. Like, in the final minutes of the movie, he is still explaining, like, that's raw unstructured creation down there. You can't go down there. And this is like 5 minutes until the credits are wrapping. You need to, in a science fiction movie, you need to deliver those stakes earlier. Don't tell me that this is about to happen as you're doing it, because it's lazy, and it means there's no tension and no emotional impact, because I'm just trying to process what you said rather than like...
they're ramping up the stakes hurriedly at the end, so... the structure didn't quite stick. Is what it sounds like.
Tom Hardy's character is just like disobeying the rules of the universe the entire movie.
Example?
He can change how he appears.
Okay.
When is that talked about, and when is that explained?
So what you're saying is it needed more exposition.
Well, it exposits things it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exposit things it does. And he pulls a hand grenade or a rocket launcher out of his bottom and is like, you mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
Because the director needed him to do it at that point.
Yeah, but like that's not the rules of this universe. You can't just dream weapons and they appear in front of you, or
because the Matrix set up that someone downloads things, and you can get weapons, but only from certain areas.
Yeah,
and all this sort of stuff.
And the universe of Inception has told us like our architect can create things in this universe.
That's the person you're inside,
which is
right?
No, it is at the time Ellen Page. Elliot Page now. So I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible. Elliot Page's character is the architect. She's the one who has envisioned that world.
Sorry, I should have mentioned. I haven't seen this for a while, hence my questions. But
it's a movie about making movies. The architect is the writer, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the producer, and Tom Hardy is the talent or the actor. But all of these things, I know I sound like I'm being finicky and fussy,
but they're structural.
And this is the problem with Chris Nolan's science fiction issue, is he has two things that work against each other. He has a fascination and obsession with ambiguity, Like he doesn't want to resolve things. He like the ending of Inception is deliberately vague, but he is also like he loves his complicated plots, and there's a lot of moving parts in Inception, and it's an entirely new science fiction universe that he's trying to explain to us. But he also loves his ambiguity, so he doesn't.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean there.
But then that means he is setting the challenge to the audience to try and figure it out, and we're looking for clues. And if there are continuity errors in the film, we might mistake those for clues.
Right. So the fact that Tom Hardy can suddenly change the rules.
That makes us feel like, oh, is that relevant? Like, should I?
No, it's just cool that he could use
it's just a mistake. And that's a huge flaw.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is at this time, and I would argue the weaker points of his filmmaking is when he chooses spectacle over all those other factors, when he just goes, this will work. And I think this is what leads some people to, including myself, as a Nolan defender, even myself, who go, I really enjoyed that, but I don't feel like revisiting. Watch it on the big screen, love it, and probably never rewatch it.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of his films sit.
I think that the issue with Inception is that it gets worse every time you watch it.
Yeah.
Because the spectacle stops being impressive. Like the tumbling hallway Joseph Gordon-Levitt fight is still very, very good. But all of the dressing around it is mitigated by the fact that like this universe and this story never decides on its rules. It never gets out of its own way. Whereas compare that to The Matrix, and they're very similar films.
Yes.
The Matrix is so elegant and streamlined with its delivery of exposition, and it stops telling you rules very early on.
And I think why that happened was because the Wachowskis famously, I think this is famous, but well known, the idea that they had developed, at least functionally in their own minds and on paper somewhere, a trilogy where The Matrix was the second part.
Yeah.
And the plan was then to go back and make a part 1 and part 3 before and after.
Yeah.
And obviously that changed. But the point is, they knew the world intimately.
Yeah.
And you don't need to tell us the prologue, but if you have that streamlined, it's fine. And I wonder if Nolan needed more of that. So he clearly had. Imagine if you asked him about the world, he probably could have explained it quite well.
I think so. And I read I bought, because I loved the movie when it first came out, I bought the screenplay, and there's exposition in the screenplay that's not on screen. Like, this is a military technology that soldiers use to train.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And all this sort of stuff.
So there is some stuff there fleshed out in his mind. But
I feel like if Christopher Nolan was making this movie again, he would have relaxed a little bit about it.
Oh, yeah. Today's Christopher Nolan would do better.
He would not have Tom Hardy. He might not even have Tom Hardy's character in there at all. And he would have Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character stop delivering exposition, at about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and just, all right, pieces are in place now. Now we're pulling off our operation.
I wonder if there's an editor's cut or director's cut that might be able to tidy it a little bit.
It's a very sweaty science fiction movie.
It is, and I wonder if that'll come up more in this conversation. I mean, I don't know much. I think you've summed it up well. I mean, my strongest memory of that film is that I happened to be in Chicago when I saw it, and I remember back in the days when I could eat gluten and meat. I had a Subway sandwich, and that's probably the most I've got to say about it. So there you go.
A good sandwich.
Yeah, it was a pretty good sandwich.
Yeah.
I think it was a meatball one.
Nice.
But yeah, being a vegetarian and averse to gluten, I wouldn't...
So, I would say Inception... It's maybe not his worst movie, but it's certainly my least favourite of his.
I mean, saying if you like gluten and meat, probably have a Subway sandwich instead.
Yeah, there you go.
You could definitely watch, as you said, you could watch it once and enjoy the spectacle.
Yeah.
Like a lot of his weaker films.
Yeah.
There's good filmmaking in there.
Yeah. He's a very the mechanics of this filmmaking are very, very good.
Yeah.
This is a story by screenplay by, I think it's Christopher and Jonathan Nolan at this point, his brother. And Jonathan Nolan is maybe responsible for...
It says just written by Christopher Nolan,
okay.
So I'm not sure if there's more.
Maybe it's just something that was in the screenplay where they collaborated on it together.
Should just mention too, because when we get to the Odyssey, I want to mention music. Music by Hans Zimmer. So Nolan and Hans Zimmer.
They were long collaborators at that point.
From memory, he did all 3 Dark Knight films and Inception, maybe Tenet as well. I could be wrong.
I can't remember.
But anyway, a fair few of them. And Hans Zimmer is probably the most highly sought after.
Yeah, he's
at the
a big
moment.
deal. Hey.
Yeah. He's as far as you want music on your movie.
Yeah.
For a particular type of movie, he's the default response.
He's kind of like a more flexible John Williams.
Yeah.
John Williams was the big guy to get in the 80s and 90s because he would deliver you an iconic theme.
Yep.
Whereas Hans Zimmer is he is able to deliver you an immersive.
Yeah, that's he's an immersive score creator.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises exists.
It does. Hey.
Yeah, and then as a side note, he then produced Man of Steel, but whatever. Moving on. So, Interstellar, producer, writer, director. I guess we did mention this a lot on that episode of what was it?
Project Hail Mary.
Yeah,
comparing those two.
Yeah, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, whatever it's called. And I guess maybe just summarising those points, your issue with it was, let's see if I can remember, pretty much the Inception issues you had. They weren't as egregious.
No,
but
Interstellar's a better movie than Inception.
Yeah.
But it is still...
the exposition problem.
All spectacle and exposition, no character development, and no... I know there is the scene where Matthew McConaughey cries watching his kids grow up.
Yep.
That is the only scene in that movie where there's emotion on
display.
display.
It's a little bit jarring when you see ultimately you have a father and daughter and there's a death scene at the end and it's a little bit abrupt, kind of cut short. I saw, as a quick aside, because I think the algorithm is such that bubbling to the surface and people going, this is the reason why Christopher Nolan sucks kind of thing, and clicking on a couple of these and the arguments I'm going to stop clicking on them because apart from a few people who do really, really good film analysis, you get like this one video when it gets to Tenet, it's like, oh, well, you sink your boot in, and he's like, oh, the action scenes look dumb. I'm like, is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do?
There are criticisms, like the 3 that I can think of that people have been banging on for as long as he's been making films is like, there's no emotion in his movies.
Yeah.
His female characters are like woefully underwritten and neglected, and he can't film an action set piece to save himself. Which I think he has demonstrated now. He demonstrated very early on. He can film action.
Yeah,
he can do that fine.
The film action one is not one I'm as familiar with in certain, again with Tenet and so on. But yeah, the fact that they feel big but empty is, I think, understandable, and that's a hard one to ignore.
Yeah. It's a criticism that was leveled at Batman Begins because the action, like the fight scenes, were filmed too close. And Nolan said that was a creative choice because he wanted it to be like a bat flapping its wing. He wanted it to be chaotic.
That's thematically appropriate. It's like the Bourne Identity.
Yeah, it was exactly.
Because the Bourne Identity is the fact that he's an amnesiac.
Yeah.
And he's disoriented, therefore the audience is disoriented.
Yeah, he's not tracking what he's doing. This is his training kicking in.
The first thing when he disarms the cop and nor he nor the audience sees the gun until it pans down is brilliant.
Yeah.
The fact that they were still doing that quick cutting in the second and third film is idiotic, and why that series is terrible.
Yeah.
Because it then becomes a distraction.
Yeah.
And in fairness to Nolan in the Dark Knight trilogy, he tidies that up because it's no longer thematically relevant.
It's better. It's much better in the Dark Knight.
Because he's now the confident Batman by that point. So I guess people don't understand those thematic elements.
Other 2 criticisms, I think, are a little bit more justified and harder to argue against. Is
this why, cutting back to that question, why people go, great movie, but I don't necessarily want to revisit it? Is it because we aren't drawn back through an emotional experience?
I think that's certainly part of it. I think he is fixing that, has fixed it. But
for a lot of the films of this era, because think about it, why would you want to rewatch a film? So there's only really two reasons why you want to rewatch films, because there's no mystery anymore. Why you want to watch it the first time is mystery. Beyond that, that's
the novelty
gone.
of what. But it tends to be an emotional choice to rewatch a movie.
Yeah, so emotion or the film is well made, and I like watch. It's like rewatching Jackie Chan film 10 times because you love seeing the stunt work. Yeah. It's a technically well made film from that perspective. It's
satisfying to watch.
The emotional connection in Jackie Chan films is non-existent, or comic, basically unintentionally comic.
Yeah.
So why do we revisit Nolan's films if you don't have the emotional core? You're taking one of those two legs out.
Yeah.
Those motivators. So you might revisit Inception because of the cool hallway scene and this sort of stuff.
But if you ask someone like, who's your favourite character in Inception?
I can't even name one.
Yeah, you might have a favourite actor who's in Inception, but the characters are all like...
Because
they're not interchangeable because they have different backstories.
Yes.
But they are like they're all just like business people.
I guess the comparison I would draw is you think of somewhat contemporary films like when you look at Joss Whedon's taking over Marvel.
It's similar.
But for very different reasons, because I would rather watch a Nolan film because we don't have the fact that all your dialogue is your characters become meaningless because all the dialogue is mishmash and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, Joss Whedon, he'll have the serious character say something funny, he'll have the funny character say something serious, and it all becomes meaningless. And it's prevalent in the Avengers, for example, but it was right there back in the days of Buffy and everything else. It's just Joss Whedon style. Some people like it. I think you're mad, but that's fine. If it makes you happy, that's fine. I'm not here to ruin anyone's day, but I can't stand it. So it makes it hard to penetrate into the character and form an emotional core because they're annoying. With Nolan, it's a case of there's nothing to get into.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah, at least he's not annoying, though.
But it tends to be, even if it's just the character talking about themselves, it is all expository dialogue.
Yeah.
There's he could stand to borrow some Tarantino, where you have characters spending time together rather than delving into the plot,
talking at each other rather than to each other.
So Interstellar, it's his best science fiction film.
Yeah,
it's still, for me, it's got issues.
Yeah, I think I am happy to acknowledge those issues, and without repeating, I'll just say I'm happy to overlook them simply because of, like I said, I have a very, 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 very subjective reason for liking that film, and the emptiness of space and the hostility and isolation of humanity and blah, blah, blah. And I think it captures that really well in the same way that Kubrick did and I think, 2001. But so I still give it a very solid thumbs up, but I certainly acknowledge those flaws. Yeah,
that's interesting. I want to bring that back up when we get to Odyssey, because I've got a similar experience now, I think.
Interesting. Yeah. So Dunkirk, I kind of summed it up before when I talked about Prestige. One criticism I heard of this film is it felt very empty, as in, apart from a couple of early scenes, it's like the budget ran out and then you've got beaches with only 10 people on them.
That's kind of the point.
But I sort of went...
the story.
But the idea isn't... So did this person... If that's your criticism, did you imagine that Dunkirk was only a couple of 100,000 people sitting on a beach, that there weren't other small groups of people and so on? So again, some of these criticisms
that's wild. I think Dunkirk...
It didn't bother me, put it that way.
No, and Dunkirk is... I don't think it's his best movie, but that is a very, very important movie for Christopher Nolan.
It is, and it does a few things. I mean, when's the last time, before that, so 2017 or whatever it was, when was the last time you saw dogfights? Yeah. Because apart from Top Gun...
Yeah, it doesn't happen. But also, a war movie that's not about a battle, that's about an evacuation, is quite risky.
Yes.
It's a blockbuster movie that is like no promise of like feel good or victory or joy. Yeah. So that's very brave.
Yeah. So it came at a time when war films weren't a big deal.
No, we had 1917 at a similar time, but that 1917 is a magician's trick pretending to be a war movie.
Okay.
It's the single take war, and
was it? Okay.
Yeah, and that movie is, I think it's Sam Mendes. That movie is him deciding to do a single take movie, and then it's let's make it a war movie as well. Okay. It's still good, but Dunkirk is a much better movie.
Yeah.
And this, in terms of importance for Christopher Nolan, this is an important movie because it's mature storytelling.
It is, and this would be his second collaboration, or third with Murphy, Cillian Murphy. Is that?
No, because he's in all of the Dark Knight movies.
Oh, of course, yeah. So like his fifth or something.
Yeah, he's a regular Nolan presence,
which I didn't realize. I thought it was basically just the Dark Knight and then Oppenheimer, because I missed a few of the films. So
important to understand with Dunkirk is that he's still messing about with time.
Yep,
we've got 3 storylines progressing at different rates, and I'm trying to. It's explained very elegantly at the start of the film using this kind of like analog.
Yeah. Isn't it like 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour?
Yeah, it's 1 week by land or 1 week by bridge, 1 day by boat, and 1 hour by air.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got the idea that across it's only normally war epics like 2.5 hours, only 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But you see at the beginning all the storylines, and at the end all the storylines wrap up. But one of them was only them in the air for 1 hour, and one was a week, and so on. So which I didn't realize at first, but then I suddenly went, why was one at night, one was day? And then, of course. And it didn't hamper the experience at all. I thought he executed it very well.
It's done deliberately. It's for effect. And there's no big set piece in that film. It's building to a very satisfying climax, and there are set pieces you remember, like when they're hiding in the hull of the ship as the water's rising, and all that sort of stuff, and it's very tense.
Yep.
But it's just a good grown-up movie, and it's maybe his first. Like, I love Prestige, but Prestige is a different thing.
Prestige is also a product of its time too, which I must admit might be why I like it so much, because it was at a time, maybe it's just a bit of nostalgia here, but it was at a simpler time where, like I said, it wasn't. This had to be a $100 million movie, and it had to make $500 million, and it had to be linked to another franchise, and all of this stuff, and it was just back when. I don't know. The films were simpler, and you could just do this one and done thing. Yeah,
a director had just earned some goodwill with a intellectual property, and he's made some friends.
Now I can go do this stuff.
Yeah, I'll do one for me now.
Yeah, it was still very much a studio film.
Yeah,
but it was a really good one. So maybe that. Yeah, no, you're right. So it feels like his version of that. Fast forward a decade, and Dunkirk's a very different animal, but
it feels like his Schindler's List almost, where it's kind of like, no, I'm not just the blockbuster guy. I can also make stuff of substance.
This was an important thing to talk about, not as important as the Holocaust, but it's a different thing.
I don't mean like
important in its own way.
Yeah, I don't mean in terms of subject matter. I mean in terms of like, I don't just want to be financially successful. I want critical regard.
Yeah, and it was still a big budget movie. It did pretty well. It wasn't the film of the year, but it did quite well.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, Nolan doing Dunkirk?
Yeah, it was an odd choice at the time, because
I didn't even watch it. I only watched it this year.
He had 2 tracks that he'd been doing comic book stuff, and he'd been doing science fiction stuff.
Yeah.
And this was a very grounded historical. To call it a war movie is a little bit misleading, because it's not about conflict; it's about evacuation.
Yeah. And it's suitably it hits you where it needs to. So seeing people get mowed down is obviously not pleasant. It's supposed to feel real in that sense.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, functionally speaking, it's like they just sunk a couple boats for this production. Like it's the set pieces of the sinking, turning ships.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible.
It's very well filmed, well lit.
Smashed up a couple of IMAX.
So similar to Odyssey in terms of like color palette that he's working with, and but it's his first movie. Like Prestige is a very, very good movie. Dunkirk is his first, like, I don't know whether to call it a masterpiece, because I don't know how many masterpieces a director can have.
Yeah.
For most directors, this would be their masterpiece.
Yeah, and I guess I was thinking about that, talking about Nolan because I sort of maintain that this lack of emotional development that he has, does that disqualify him from that label of masterpiece? Because a masterpiece arguably needs to be doing several things very well. Like you can't just for a bit of a facetious comparison, a Jackie Chan film can't be masterpiece, but you could say it's a masterpiece of martial arts cinema.
Yeah.
But as a masterpiece of cinema as a whole, clearly not. There's the plot's away for blah blah blah. So if you've done technical filmmaking really well, if you've done really good plot and editing and all this, but you're just missing the pathos, can you still be a masterpiece?
And I would say that is maybe Dunkirk's only detriment, is that like it is a good emotional time. It's very tense as a movie.
Oh yeah, very much.
But it is, compared to the two movies of its ilk that follow, it's emotionally undercooked. But Nolan, it's almost like he recognizes that and he fixes it with the next time he tries to do something like this.
Yeah, and I guess, so I don't know, maybe this is just semantics. Like what is it? What is a masterpiece? But I mean, whatever. It's a very good film.
It's a very good film, and it is the first, like I said, the Nolan who makes that kind of movie is the best director in the world at the moment.
Yeah, and this is the turning point.
That's his first one. That's his first actual movie.
Yeah, I push back and say I think Interstellar is a contender for one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. And I acknowledge that, there's that thing where they explain what a wormhole is, which is clearly
even if I agreed with you on that, like it is stylistically very different to these other movies. Like in terms of appearance, in terms of delivery of plot, these movies are like a different person is making them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I still, for me, as far as reaching those upper echelons of filmmaking, it starts for Interstellar. But I take your point with Dunkirk. I'm very glad knowing this conversation was coming up. I have to go watch some Christopher Nolan films. This job is so... So I'm really glad I got back to see Dunkirk.
Did you rewatch Tenet?
God, no. I mean, I did the dishes instead of doing that. Jeez.
Which is... Then that's... I don't think I didn't recognise it at the time. I don't know if anybody could. He followed up at that time, his biggest artistic achievement with maybe his biggest artistic... excluding the Dark Knight Rises, artistic misfire or creative misfire is Tenet.
I think when we have our Batman conversation, we'll have that conversation. But I think it's the distance between those two is pretty. I acknowledge the problem with Dark Knight Rises, but no. Tenet is in a league of its own of stink. It was the film to bring context. That's my thing.
Everyone's coming back to the cinema.
Back from COVID. This is the film to bring people back. And could it have worked? Like, if the film was good, would it have brought people back anyway? Because, in Australia, lockdowns probably wasn't that big a deal. But in, say, the North American market, which is more critical to film success, they were in a pretty bad way relative to us. So even if it was great, I don't know, would it have...
No, and that's too much pressure to put on a film, because there's a lot of other factors there,
and it's just unfortunate that the film wasn't good.
No, it's not a good film. It's a real Emperor's New Clothes of a film.
The funny thing though, this is the first time where, you need to watch Inception twice to see the problems with it. So, like I said, go, by all means, watch it once and enjoy the spectacle. Tenet, I would actually say, roll up, look at the freak. You will see the problems in the first viewing.
The first time I watched Tenet, I was like, this movie is like fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, it's
the same. It's the Nolan's thing with time, but it's kind of like he is leaning into his most anxious impulses with this, where it needs to be like the manipulation of time needs to be diegetic. I don't know whether that's the right term to use, but like, music in films is diegetic or non-diegetic.
Yeah.
So like non-diegetic music is music that the characters on screen can't hear.
Right.
It's overlaid. Diegetic music is music that's taking place in universe.
Yeah.
Like Tenet is, I want to, like, the time manipulation needs to be in universe.
Yeah,
the characters need to be aware of it.
Hence that discussion on entropy early on.
Yeah.
The bulletins.
Yeah. But man, the concepts in this movie, like, maybe they work, but they're not explained, and there's no breathing room in it.
I don't think I was just as you was talking. Then I was thinking, okay, so if you made it such that the apparent need to explain it all to the characters and thereby the audience was removed or diminished, so that you could just get on with the movie, would it work? And I'm still thinking, I don't even then, like if you cut some of that stuff out, I think it's just fundamentally flawed.
I think there's a movie that could work where you've got characters interacting with a world in reverse or a
sure, but the way he's like the big plot stuff of it's like secret agents dealing with each other through time.
Yeah,
I think you just get this is too messy.
But then there's other things. There's like the 3 steps that I have about how a Nolan science fiction movie comes undone. Yeah. It's too complicated. There's too much ambiguity, and then there's continuity errors that pretend like that people mistake as significant.
Right, and it's got all 3.
And it has so many of them. Like, how does firing a gun work? How does fire?
Yeah, that's true. There's
how is fire cold?
Right.
If fire is cold, do humans not then lose all of their body warmth to the air around them?
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. So, yeah, I mean, that sort of stuff I didn't notice at the time. But, I think I was just processing everything else, but you're right, it doesn't hold up. But
it goes a little bit of the way to, like, because you have to wear a mask, like an oxygen mask, when you go through the turnstile to the reverse.
That feels like where they go, like with... a little bit of facetious comparison, but like Gremlins, who they can't eat after midnight, so they say, but it's always midnight somewhere. So in Gremlins 2, when Joe Dante came back, they have someone say, it's like, but it's always midnight somewhere. What if they get on a plane and go to a different time?
Yeah, if he gets a sesame seed caught in his midnight. Right. It is like that kind of post-hoc. No, we thought of that, we fixed it.
Yeah,
no, you didn't.
But no, you thought there's 50 things, and you say, well, if we just focus on one, then it shows that we thought of it. Now we'll just go on with it.
Yeah, and you, by nature of having such a contrived and complicated plot, you are expecting me to have like a pretty decent scientific understanding of all these things, and you are like ignoring a lot of it.
I've thought of a solution. Remember that one is either from Austin Powers 1 or 2, where Austin Powers says to Basil Exposition, by the way, my favourite name for a character.
Yeah, it's very good.
Basil Exposition. He says, but if I go back in time and see myself, then... And then he goes, oh no, I've gone across it. Maybe just don't think about it too much. And then they turn to the audience and say, and you don't think about it either.
Just do not think about it too much.
You should just have a good time. Yeah. Why? They should have just had that scene. See, we fixed Tenet.
Yeah, or just don't do that stuff. With like, the fire's cold and...
once you start to... But see, I think this is the thing is, like, Terminator was a good example of, as Sarah Connor says at the end, when she has that grandfather paradox, where she says... gee, a person could go crazy thinking about it. So that's them quickly saying, we don't get it either, move on.
No, and there's like, the grandfather paradox or the bootstrap paradox is like, that's a very famous, oft discussed time travel paradox that there is no resolution for. So you can't fix that.
Don't start to explain elements of your version of that, basically.
You can still tell a very complicated, satisfying time travel story. Like Primer is this indie movie from the early 2000s, I think. The time travel in that movie is so complicated, but the more you pull it apart, the more they've thought of it.
Yeah, okay.
It is like, time travel. You can't skip the traversal of time, but you can change its direction. So if you go in the time machine and sit for 3 hours, you'll come out 3 hours in the past. And then it has characters who are like, putting time machines in other time machines, and all this sort of stuff. And it's very complex, but they plotted it out. Whereas Tenet is just kind of like, it's there again. He wanted these spectacles. He wanted it to be heightened drama when someone gets shot by a reverse bullet.
He clearly thought of that whole entropy thing and people going backwards and reforming a building.
And the fight scene that we see from 2 different angles Ellie wants to play. In forward and reverse and all that sort of stuff. And that stuff is cool in theory.
I think it would have worked well as a short film.
Yeah.
Or a proof of concept or one element of a film. I'm trying to think of some examples. Like films that have a piece within them. Yeah. Rather than the entire movie pivots around this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the some kind of, if you go through this door, you'll have this reality to deal with for 5 minutes and then come back. Yeah. Sure. But the entire thing is built around it. And I went in because I saw it months after it came out.
Yeah.
So I knew it was a stinker, and that helped. So I went in expecting a messy film.
Yeah.
And I got a messy film.
Yeah.
My expectations were met, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And I was not big on Nolan at the time. I was still trying to figure out, outside the Dark Knight trilogy, I don't know, do I care? And then I gradually grew this love of Interstellar and so on.
Yeah.
So I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But, I imagine if you were a big Nolan fan, and if you had seen Dunkirk and really fallen for
that's it. I was big on Dunkirk, and
what a letdown.
Yeah. I was kind of like, this is he's a grown up director now, and this was kind of like, and by this point as well, I was off Inception. I was like, no, that movie's no good.
Yeah,
and this is like the worst elements of Inception.
Yep.
Zoomed in on and magnified.
They just doubled. They said, two realities, that's double the chaos.
Like, if the characters in Inception are dry and emotionless, like the protagonist of Tenet is called the protagonist. He is not a character. He is a man in a suit.
At least they're calling attention to it. But you're hardwiring in the problem of Nolan's work of characters that aren't characters, or characters that are shallow.
The best part about Tenet is that Robert Pattinson is in it, and he's just being charming.
Isn't he great? He has, like DiCaprio, it's worth remembering, DiCaprio had that teen boy thing. He was in Romeo and Juliet and Titanic.
Yeah.
And then he basically had to punish himself and get eaten by a bear before people would say, you're okay now.
It is great when people are like, oh no, I don't want to be famous, I want to be good.
Yeah, and Pattinson clearly, as soon as Twilight was done, he was like, no, I am doing these other... If you ever listen to the commentaries of Twilight, which I've only seen highlights, you can see him, he hates those movies.
Yeah, he's right to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny hearing him say, because obviously he was a professional, he kept his mouth shut, but when it was done, he was like, this is crap, and I'm moving on with my life. And I'm a big fan of his work. I'm not sure I've seen a film that he's in that I absolutely love, maybe, possibly, but everything he's in, it's just a joy to see him work.
Yeah,
he's so good.
A very good. I don't want to sound like a Margaret and David. He's a very promising young talent.
Yes, he'll go places.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Tenet. Tenet is kind of like that's the floor has dropped out. That is pretty bad.
And this, no way was that going to totally derail his career. But a follow-up to that is very, very important.
Yeah.
You've got to steady the ship.
Because there was a lot of discussion. Tenet provoked a lot of discussion because people were, as I said, it was the Emperor's New Clothes of movies.
Yeah.
People
like I said,
were like, no, this is gibberish.
And I reckon that's when people started to look back at Nolan's work more critically.
Like, how much of this actually holds up?
Yeah.
And how much of it is just like, we've been sold cryptocurrency?
Yeah, and I think the rage with Tenet, like I said, I think that's people have been a little bit unfair of his previous work. But if you follow it up with an Oscar winner, you're probably doing all right.
That's it. Like, it's kind of... I would like to think Christopher Nolan... I don't know. I don't want anybody to read reviews of their own work because that seems like it would be torturous. But I hope that he feels in and of himself that, like, Tenet is as far as that train goes. He can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But...
Have elements of it maybe, but don't have that be the ship that your
and so,
whole film is.
It's also to date that's the last time there's a story by Christopher Nolan credit, which is good.
Interesting. So Oppenheimer, I don't know if I have a huge amount to say about it other than it's obviously a return to form. It's definitely one of his better films.
I think, maybe it's his best. Oppenheimer was my favourite movie of that year. And as someone who was I went in anti-Nolan.
I lament not watching it on the big screen.
It was amazing on the big screen.
Because first of all, Tenet wasn't good.
Yeah.
And then second of all, I'm going, but this is a, historical drama or whatever.
I hate historical biopics.
Yeah, historical biopics. And on the big screen, why would I, and now I know better, and this is why, from now on I'm going, even if Nolan's making something that I don't necessarily care about, I think I just need to go see it.
But Oppenheimer is, it's a historical biopic, but it's much more than that. It is not like it's not like Michael, and it's not like Bohemian Rhapsody. It's got a point.
Yeah, the biopic, as in, I'll steal this from Darren Mooney's clever play with words, where he said the biopic, as in B-U-Y.
Yeah.
Biopic. It's there to sell the product.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is not selling anything other than itself.
Yeah, and it's got a very important. I don't know, not important. I hate that. Scratch that.
Okay.
Not important. It has got a point. It has got it's the same or a variation on the point that is made in the Odyssey. Like Oppenheimer is a lot about, can you ever really come home from war?
Mm.
The things you do during war, how do you make peace with them?
Mm-hmm.
And Oppenheimer handles that very, very well. And it's got the butterfly plot again.
Yeah.
There's the Senate hearings in black and white,
Yep.
and Oppenheimer developing the Manhattan Project. It does so much, and it does it so well.
It does those all of the components that it is trying to excel at.
Yeah.
It excels at. It's not trying to do every single thing a movie can do, but several things you're referring to, it does it all basically perfectly.
Yeah, there's only one like visually stunning set piece in the film, and that's the initial blast of the Project Trinity or whatever it's called.
Does that? I'm trying to remember. Did it look particularly good? I just can't remember.
It was just presented very well.
Yeah, that was my impression.
Yeah,
I heard an idiot on YouTube saying that it looked bad or something. I go, ugh, whatever. But also, not the point of the movie, even if it did look bad. But I don't recall it looking bad. I thought it was right.
It's more. He takes like bold, creative choices in that film. Like he does a lot of practical effects where possible. Like so when Oppenheimer is having visions of people's faces melting off after an atomic blast. It is just used with like overexposed footage of people's faces and it's another mature movie.
Yeah, it is, and it's the sort of film where I go, if you wanted to improve it, I wouldn't know where to begin.
No.
Like it's just there's so many moving components. It's a very complex. It's it's superficially a simple film. But the layers and complexity, I'm talking from a writing standpoint to, as you say, like doing those practical effects and everything at every level, it's a deceptively complex film.
It is.
And you couldn't pull things apart.
And he is getting career best performances out of like Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr.
Cillian won the Oscar.
And
the film
and Robert Downey Jr. I think won Best Supporting Actor as well.
Oh right, okay.
Film won Best Picture. I think Nolan won Best Director.
Yeah,
I think.
And you talk about it was certainly Best Picture, but it was with Barbie. It was the Barbenheimer.
Yeah,
which was it did for cinemas what Tenet
he promised.
Which to be fair, Nolan didn't promise that.
No,
Warner Brothers promised that. Yeah. And this here it is,
which is quite strange that Oppenheimer is a box office success because
it was a summer blockbuster.
Yeah, and it's an anti-war think piece character study movie. And that's interesting because Nolan's doing it again right now as we speak, where he takes something that is like box office poison and make it something that people will like come out for just on the strength of his name and his vision of it. Who else can do that? Yeah,
exactly. Like what else? It's not the content that brings people out. It's things like it's the IMAX stuff. It's this will look good on a big screen. It's the fact that it's Nolan. We feel we're in safe hands with Nolan.
He's earned so much goodwill with the audience, which is I don't know how he's done it.
No, because Tenet burnt a lot of it.
Yeah,
not all of it, but a lot of it, and Oppenheimer just rebuilt it.
Yeah, that's it. It's got to be Oppenheimer because Dunkirk didn't have that bigger impact.
No. I think in hindsight, I haven't heard much negativity about Dunkirk, but. It's there, propping it up.
People who see it liked it, but like The Prestige, people who see it liked it. It's built, it's gained goodwill over the years, but not an important movie in the scheme of the world.
No,
But yeah, Oppenheimer is, to my mind, I need more time for the Odyssey to sink in.
Yes.
But that's his masterpiece.
Yes.
It's an incredible movie. It's got thematic depth.
Yeah, you talk about what qualifies as a masterpiece. I don't think you'd argue that Oppenheimer qualifies. I feel like that's there.
It is a really strong emotional movie. You will feel things in that movie, and not just exhilaration.
And I don't know how much we can thank Nolan for that, obviously partly, but I think the performances, that's when your actors are really bringing it.
And I think Dunkirk as well is when Nolan starts letting himself be an actor's director.
Okay.
And he starts giving his actors room to be like, make this performance yours.
Yeah, and there was no time for that in Tenet.
No time for that in Tenet, and no need for it in Batman. No need for it in the science fiction movies where we just got to push the plot forward.
Yeah.
But with Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, and the Odyssey, it seems like he's very interested in pushing the frame up close for the actors to, play for awards, or at least do a good job rather than just doing a plot.
Should we perhaps move on to then?
Let's talk about the Odyssey.
The reason why we're here,
the main event.